Tensions erupt in Coronation Street when Maggie completely unravels, banning 3 stunned locals from the Rovers. Chaos sweeps Weatherfield after Maggie Driscoll reacts furiously to a harmful rumor about one of the community's most well-liked residents. The sharp-tongued Rovers Return landlady has never had patience for nonsense and is deeply protective of both her family and her business. So when she hears a malicious story concerning George Shuttleworth, she fails to pause and question its truth. Manchester's ever-cheerful funeral director has been under relentless pressure lately, targeted by a smear campaign aimed at destroying his professional standing. Annie, the daughter of a former client, believes George manipulated her late mother into leaving him £10,000 in her will, prompting police scrutiny and threats of legal action. After a wave of scathing 1-star online reviews, Shuttleworth's funeral parlor is facing serious jeopardy. Annie even drags Christina Boyd into the drama, accusing her of being involved. With his livelihood already battered by baseless claims, George can hardly afford another disaster. Yet that's exactly what happens when elderly client Mrs. Ripley suddenly collapses inside his funeral home. The timing couldn't be worse. Annie is so determined to dismantle George's reputation that he briefly considers refusing the £10,000 inheritance simply to end the ordeal. However, Christina warns that rejecting the money would only fuel suspicions further, persuading him to retain it for the sake of the business. That choice soon proves costly when in upcoming scenes a scheming Cobble's troublemaker feeds Annie fresh lies about George. The culprit's identity remains under wraps. Viewers will need to watch to discover who it is. Whoever is responsible, their toxic gossip spreads rapidly and eventually reaches Maggie, triggering explosive consequences. A dejected George listens helplessly as Todd, Grimshaw, and Christina read aloud the latest fabricated headlines attacking Shuttleworth's reputation. Meanwhile, inside the Rovers, Maggie scans the same reports and fears the pub's image could suffer by association, an ironic concern considering her own dark secret of pushing her husband down the stairs. When she spots George in the bar, Maggie publicly brands him a fraud and announces he is no longer welcome, banning him on the spot. As Todd and Christina rush to defend him, Maggie silences them in the same breath by barring them as well. As Todd tidies up the broken crockery from last night's fight, he tells George that he won't be coming into work. Gary clocks Theo waking up in his van. Theo makes out that Todd's worried about money and they had an argument. Todd makes some soup, but when he can't get the blender to work, he loses his temper and throws it. Gary arrives to pick up some clothes for Theo and surveys the mess. Upset, Todd tells Gary that he wants to patch things up. Having been summoned by Gary, Theo calls at the flat to talk. Meanwhile, Amy is buzzing after her night out with Ollie. At the Rovers, Ollie reveals that he's taking Amy for dinner at Speed Doll later. Steve and Ben are delighted. Maggie pulls Lauren to one side and orders her to go home, dress to impress and get down to Speed Doll to show Ollie what he's missing. Ollie and Amy are getting on well, but when Lauren calls in looking $1 million, Ollie can't tear his eyes away. Elsewhere, David the dog cocks his leg on Adam's new car. Adam's furious, but Jody fails to take him seriously. In the cafe, Tracy spies the dog behind the counter and threatens to report Jody to environmental health. Also today, Adam suggests to Alia they reward themselves for all their hard work and book a holiday. Alia is delighted, but when she receives a text, she's clearly thrown. Finally, Leanne confides in Megan that she's concerned for Sam and senses something is bothering him. Megan assures her she's worrying over nothing. Assuming she's alone, Megan flirts on the phone with Will. When Leanne emerges from the bathroom, Megan's horrified. As Coronation Street is gearing up to air a big murder mystery, a new episode hinted at a possible suspect if Carl Webster is the one meeting their maker next month. Fans of the ITV soap know that several Weatherfield residents have their good reasons to want rid of Carl, who was revealed as one of 5 potential victims in the whodunit Corrie is kicking off next month. After the explosive Corriedale episode, Carl let Debbie take the fall for the car accident and has been scamming her out of her savings as she's behind bars. In tonight's episode, Sally Metcalf got wind of Carl's scheme as she was in prison visiting Lou Michaelis with the kids. She tried to talk to Debbie, who'd been keeping quiet about being Carl's biological mum, but she wouldn't listen. Later on at the Rovers, Sally shared her concerns with Ronnie Bailey, who immediately confronted Carl once he walked through the pub's doors. We already know that Debbie's husband Ronnie has been seeking vengeance against Carl, as has Kevin Webster after Abby cheated on him with Carl last year. However, tonight's scene pointed at another suspect should Carl be the one who kicks the bucket on 23rd of April. As things were getting heated at the pub, landlord Ben Driscoll issued a warning for Carl before kicking him out. "Right, out. You really are pushing your luck with me and it's not going to end well," Ben threatened him after the duo previously butted heads. "Happy to be on my way," Carl replied smugly, "especially with her money burning a hole in my pocket." While the soap is keeping the victim's identity a secret, a flash-forward revealed that Carl, Jody Ramsey, Maggie Driscoll, Megan Walsh, and Theo Silverton are all in danger. Helen Flanagan certainly hasn't been backward in coming forward in recent years. She's more than ready to make her return to Coronation Street. Helen is utterly beloved by soap fans for her portrayal of former goth-turned-glamour girl Rosie Webster, Kevin and Sally Webster's, Michael Lavelle and Sally Dynevor, eldest daughter. She was originally cast all the way back in 2000 at the incredibly tender age of 9 years old and remained in the role for 12 years until departing in 2012. She later reprised the role between 2017 and 2018 for a short stint, before taking maternity leave, a break that would ultimately become permanent as Helen undertook numerous reality TV projects, appearing in I'm a Celebrity, both the UK and South Africa versions, Celebs Go Dating, and Celebrity X on the Beach. Though Helen's forged a career as one of the UK's most visible and at times controversial celebrities, fans of both Helen and Coronation Street have always had one question. Will we ever see Rosie's impeccably bouncy blow-dry grace the cobbles again? Being interviewed by The Echo recently as she stars in a production of The Memory of Water at the Liverpool Everyman, Helen revealed that she's more than ready to slip back into Rosie's stilettos. "Honestly, if they want me to come back, I'd love to. But Osses just haven't spoke to me. Everybody always asks me, when are you going back to Corrie? And it's like, they haven't called me. If you want to call me, that's great. But they haven't." Revealing why she feels like the time is right for a Corrie comeback, Helen said, "I just really want to concentrate on my acting now. I feel really lucky. All my children are now at school, so I want to concentrate on my career." Before commenting, "I've been very lucky. I'm just a normal northern, down-to-earth mum. I've been very lucky to have opportunities in the career I've had." This isn't the first time Helen has been vocal about wanting a return to the show that kicked off her career, telling The Sun last year, "I'd love to go back to Coronation Street, but they just haven't asked me. I live around the corner, but they just haven't asked me."